Hello everybody, I'm Hazel. Welcome back to my channel all about ice cream. It's been a funny kind of morning. So from your perspective, this video is coming out about a week after the last video, which was how to make tea in a plain cream base. From my perspective, it's all happening on the same day because I had to go off and get the cream that I'd originally been told wasn't going to be in, but then was told actually no, it has arrived. And what I'd hoped would happen was it would have a really good date on it and I could use it for next week's ice cream. One of them did. The whipping cream I think would have been fine. It was technically would have expired by a day, but it's not like it gets to midnight and goes, oh right, we've tipped over into the next day, I best expire now. I would have used that. But the single cream expires tomorrow. So I don't think I could have pushed it that far. So I thought, I don't want to waste the cream. It's not the cheapest stuff. So I thought, I already know what I was going to make next week. Why don't I just make it this week and then I know the cream's fine? So I'm making yet more tea ice cream, but it is in a custard base. And technically I'm going to make two. I'm only going to show you one of them because the method for them is the same. It's just slightly different ratio of ingredients. And the reason I'm making two is there's one ratio which is more accurate, which is in quotations because none of these are book accurate. I'm rejiggled with the recipes a little bit. But there's one that's more accurate, but has less of the tea water in it. And there's one that has the right proportion of tea water, but it throws off all the other percentages. So I thought I'll just make both and I'll know how they are. First, we've got to start with making the tea water. I have once again forgotten to get the kettle boiling, so let's go and get that done. The tap ends up pretty much covered when I do these, so let me just get access to the tap, and that can boil. I'll probably need a fair bit of that. So that can boil whilst I'm talking. So I'm going to make all the tea water that I need in one go because two reasons. A, it's just easier and more efficient. But B, it then means that I'm using the exact same tea water in both of them. So if there are differences in flavour and how they come out, it's not the tea water. So I needed, so this is where the difference comes down to. One of them has 20% tea water, one of them has 25%. Because I'm going to make 600 grams again of each of them, because they're smaller amounts because I don't know how they're going to go. This is going to go into the experimental list, although it's not the most experimental experiment. It's just a variation. Should I have another playlist with variations? I'll think on that one. But it boiled down to I needed, how much did I need? I needed 25% in one, so I needed 150 in one, and I needed 20% in the other, so I needed 120. So I needed 270 grams of tea water. Basically, it all works out as if I put 700 in to start with, it all works out about right. So ideally what I would have is 87.5 grams of tea. I don't think I've got it. So what I've got in here is the 50 grams that I used this morning, because as I said, tea isn't just one use, you can reuse it a few times. And I'll add to it what I've got left in the pot, but that is not 37.5 grams. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this in the cafetiere, or you may know it as a French press, because then I can actually extract a bit more of the flavour from it. The original recipes don't say to actually strain the tea at any point. Let's see, we added 15 grams there, so not as much as it would have called for. But yeah, the actual recipes don't say to kind of strain the tea and push it out, but given that I've got less than I would have had, that's fine. So what have I got? I've now got, I called it 65-ish of tea. And let's round it down to 60 because I think I probably lost some of the tea going into it. So call that 60. So if I put in 640 grams of water, that gets me roughly my 700. Put that in there. I use a cafetiere for loads of things. Oddly enough, not coffee. I don't really drink coffee. But it's really good for doing this sort of thing. When it comes to things like trying to make rose water infusions, it works really well there. And that almost segues nicely into why I think tea ice cream is one of the most important ones to figure out fairly early on. But I can hear the kettle's nearly boiled, and there's a bit of a story going into that. So what I'll probably do is do this, finish this, and tell that when I next come back, because this takes about 15 minutes to come up to strength. So this will not go up to 640. So if I pour in, how much? Try and pour in about 400. Oh, the other reason I used this was capacity. I don't think my jug would have had this. So if I can pour in around about 400, that was 414. And then I probably want about another 230 then. Cat meowing in the background. Once again, they are happily in the living room, not a torture chamber. And then, first of all, let's not have that on the scales. I don't actually want to strain it first of all, I just want it to have a lid. So first of all, I'll put it there, I'll let it do its thing for 15 minutes. There's the timer. Let's set a timer for 15 minutes. And once that's up, I'll come back to it, push it down and get the tea water out of it, and then carry on with making the rest of the ice cream. So as I said, I'm not going to show you one, but I'll tell you what numbers I would change if I was making the other one. So see you again in a little bit. And then we're back with a nicely stewed tea from a cafetiere. I wanted to do this bit on screen because this is the most / only satisfying thing about a cafetiere is when you press it down. The other benefit to using a cafetiere on this is you probably are going to get a bit more water output. I think that's probably about my lot. There we go. So that should hopefully give me plenty of tea water to use on this. I'd also like to say I use the time in between to split my eggs. No, separate my eggs. 10 eggs, not one of them split. That would not have happened on screen. But look, here's 6 of them. And I've got a bowl over here of another 4 of them. Never would have done that. They'd have all split if I'd been doing that on screen. Never mind. I think we need a bit more light in here. Let me just go and turn the main one on. That's hopefully better. My camera stopped flashing at me to tell me that the exposure's wrong anyway. So I am making the 20% tea water version of this ice cream, which remember gives us the slightly more accurate percentages when you get things like the fat content and the water content, but not as much tea water. So it will, in theory, have a less taste. Now, whether 5% extra tea water is going to make that much difference, I'm not convinced, which is why I'm making both of them. So the way in which this works is in this version, you use 15% egg yolk, which comes out as 1 every 100 grams of mixture, hence the 6 egg yolks to get 600 grams, and 20% of the tea water. In the other version, everything else stays the same, except you're using 10% egg yolk, so only 1 every 150 grams, so I'll be needing hence the 4 for the 600, and 25% of the tea water. That's where the trade-off is. But cream, sugar, all of that is exactly the same. So start off there. So start off with 20% single cream, so I need 120 grams of single cream. And remember, my single cream is the one that messed up for doing this next week, which, to be fair, I ordered the cream for this week. It's not like it was out of date or anything. It's just that if it had had a longer date, I probably would have waited a bit longer to do this video. But never mind. So what was I saying? I needed 20%. I need 120 grams of the single cream. So pour that into everything. This one goes straight into the saucepan. And actually, that's the other nice thing about the cafetiere. It should just pour very easily. This is taking a while. 110 nearly. 120. There we go. And then 30% of whipping cream, so that will come out as 180 of the whipping cream. No, I still got, oh gosh, I just nearly dropped it. That would not have gone well. I think if I dropped that, it would have been nearly all over. So 180 grams of whipping cream. Remember, the cream percentages are the same even if you end up doing the other version. So this part all still applies. Probably pour a bit more. We're on 150, 170, 100 and one more little drip. 180.09, I can live with that. And then what to add next? Let's just add the tea water next. So this is the 20% version, so I need another 120 grams of the tea water. I've never tried to pour directly from this cafetiere. This could go horribly wrong. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it's a good pour. It's not the best pour, but it will do. What did I say? I needed 120. 110, 17, 121, that's fine. Where's this little collar being uneven? It's fine, it just annoys me. And then the egg yolks, is this my 6 yolk bowl? This is my 6 yolk bowl, and these ones should just plop straight in. Very satisfying. Now I'll try and do it, make sure this is on camera. There they go. And then, I didn't get the sugar out. Let's get the sugar out. And then 15 grams of the sugar, so that's going to be 90. Just make sure on that one. Yep, because 10% 60, so 15 will be 90. I think I must have left this sugar somewhere cold for a while because it's all kind of crystallised. It's not all kind of crystallised, but in places it's crystallised. Let me just get the big bits out, so I can hopefully get a bit more of the easier to mix in sugar. So what did I say? I needed 90 grams of sugar. That's fine, it's getting heated. It should. In fact, if it's getting heated, this might be the good time to use these. That takes us up to 88, I think. That's quite good. 91, that's fine. And then classic custard. You just whisk it until it coats the back of a spoon. Let me put on my extractor fan. There we go. Before it starts heating too much, let me just get a pot, one of the jugs down. There we go. And then just start whisking them. As I'm doing that, I will explain to you why I think tea is one of the most important ice creams to get done. As I say, coffee won the battle of hot drinks when it comes to hot drinks in an ice cream. I don't know that it necessarily should have done, but I'm biased. I'm not a huge coffee fan, and I quite like tea, as you have seen from my vast collection of the stuff. But tea as an ice cream is just an interesting recipe, because tea is essentially water. It's flavoured water. So if you can make a tea ice cream, you can make any water infusion ice cream. So things like, we know they made orange blossom water ice cream because those recipes are in the books that I use. You can make that. You can just replace the amount of tea with an amount of flavoured water and it will work. I will warn you now, as an ice cream maker, people will constantly ask you for mint choc chip. You can make any flavour they could think of, and they ask for mint choc chip, which can be bought in any supermarket, any ice cream shop. It is one of the most ubiquitous ice creams, and that is what people will ask for. Now, it's actually quite hard to get mint flavouring from an actual leaf into an ice cream. See what I mean about it frothing, by the way. Don't panic about froth. Heating the acid in the tea is just making it come out. It'll go away again. Ooh, maybe adding the lump of sugar wasn't the best thing. Yes, people will ask for mint choc chip, but it's hard to get that from a fresh mint leaf. Not least because most mint leaves you can just buy are more like spearmint, and you really do want to have peppermint. I've got peppermint plants growing. But it's fairly straightforward. That might have done already. It's fairly straightforward. Try and get a bit of it that's not froth for the purposes of this. Yep, we can draw a line out. That's sweet. It's quite straightforward to make a mint water infusion. So if you can make water infusion based teas, you can make mint tea. Just pour this into the jug. I probably will sieve this. I'm not going to sieve it now because it A needs to cool and B needs to flavour a little bit more anyway. So let's get as much of that out as possible. And that will go into my freshly cleared out fridge to chill. Yeah, so this is how you make mint. I probably wouldn't make mint in a custard. Mint, I think, would suit a plain cream a lot better. But once you can do water infusions, you can make mint ice cream, and that will please everybody. You can make rose water. You can take roses that you grow, or any edible flower. I've actually, hopefully, if the plants survive the next few weeks, I've got a plan on this. But any edible flower, you can take that and you can make that into an ice cream. That is why I think tea ice cream is a really important one to get going fairly quickly. Because once you can do that, anything in water is then an option to you. I have another ice cream to make, but it's going to be the exact same recipe, just with 2 less egg yolks and 5% more tea water. That will also chill overnight, and once they're done, that means I've got 3 ice creams to churn tomorrow. I might try and churn the plain cream one tonight. My machine will churn multiple ice creams, but it puts a lot of work, and they take time. So I might end up churning the plain cream one tonight, and then tomorrow I can just churn these 2. I'll think on that one. I'm not at any point going to compare the plain cream to the custard. They will have a very different taste because of the base that they're in. So I only want to compare the 2 custards. I'm not interested in comparing the plain cream to the custard. So I'm not too worried if it gets slightly different conditions. I'll think on that one. By the time you see what I decide, last week's video will have already been out for a week. I hate time. Time and timing's not a fan. But anyway, next time you see these ice creams, it will be the re-whisk and the churn. So see you again soon. And we're back on a different day. And I'm just about to re-whisk one of the tea and custard ice creams. That's just so I know which one's which, I'm going to do the version 1 that you saw me doing yesterday. That crash you heard was a mouse. Does that mean I'm no longer recording, or just that my window has gone? I'm not enjoying doing this on the laptop. It makes it really fiddly. I need to try and figure out something else to do with the audio, but hopefully it's worked for now. Hopefully I'm not actually having to put subtitles over this. So I'm just about to, actually let's go and turn the ice cream machine on before I do this. It's not super important that it pre-chills, but it does speed it up a little bit. So I'm just going to pour the mixture in there. Now it did separate a little bit, but that was to be expected. There's quite a high water content in this, and separation will tend to occur when you've got high water and high fat. As I said before, it doesn't make that much of a difference because it gets re-whisked, recombined, and then frozen together. So once it's into a final ice cream, it won't be separated. Separation of a mixture is not a big problem. It's not really any problem. You just have to re-whisk it to get it back together again. So I'm not going to do what I did during one of my one of the chocolate ice creams, which is I forgot to put the whisk attachment in. So I whisked it around the machine perfectly happily, but never at any point whisked it. I did realise and went back and did it. In there. And remember, you don't need to go too high on it. I'm just getting it to recombine again. I'm probably going to strain this. I don't know off the top of my head if the recipe says to strain it or not, but I think it would be better for it. I think most recipes are better for a straining, unless there's really nothing in them. I didn't strain the plain cream, but actually I wish I had, because even though I only used the water in the recipe, it did have a couple of little leaves in it. So I wished I had strained that. So I'm going to strain this one. And that also just gives the ice cream machine a little bit longer to chill. that should be fun. Do I have any plates? I just wanted a plate to put the whisk on. Get one out. There we go. Just otherwise it drips over my hob. And for being a relatively expensive hob, it's really difficult to keep it clean. I didn't pick the relatively expensive hob, by the way. It just came with the house. Or technically the house came with it. And as usual, just put it back into the same jug. So I'm trying not to do it too far off camera. That's going to be tricky with where the machine is. Let's push that back a bit. And I can put the jug there. Oh, that's an accident waiting to happen, that. This might just have to be done a little bit off camera. It's because I've also got... So, I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to... No, that's even worse. That's better. I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to go and film the tasting of the tea in plain cream ice cream directly after this. But in case I do, I couldn't put the air fryer over on the table that I film that on, which is what I usually do with it whilst I'm churning and filming. So it's over here, which means the worktop that I would generally use, well, it's the worktop space that I would generally use, I don't have. I need a bigger kitchen, really, except I don't, because I don't really cook very much. So the kitchen is fine for day-to-day use. I need a bigger filming kitchen. I don't think this channel is ever going to be big enough for me to have a filming kitchen. Yeah, see, there's just the little bits there. I think it's mostly little weird bits that got stuck to the egg yolks from the looks of that. It's not even cooked, it's just what my father calls the snotty parts. And then I'm going to quickly move this over to the ice cream machine work surface. Certainly film pouring this into the machine, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do about the plain cream tea. Because I've got to taste these tomorrow or the next day anyway. So if I'm filming one tasting, I could also film it then. And that wouldn't involve changing where the laptop is. I'll think on that whilst I'm getting this ice cream churning. And after a very short break, I'm back over here with the machine that's been pre-chilling for 5 minutes. I just need to do the swirling pour to get the ice cream into there. Remember, I'm not going to bother showing you me churning both of the tea custard ice creams because the method is exactly the same. Just pour that in there. And the plain cream one took about 25 minutes, didn't it? And that was the same amount of mixture. Slightly different recipe, obviously. But I'll give this probably 15 to 20, check on it then. Come back to it, and so I was just drinking the tiny bit of leftover mixture there. Come back to it then and see what I make of it. I'll show you then the potting up of this one, and then I'll churn the other one off of camera, and then the next time you see these two, it'll be time to taste them and see how tea in a custard turns out. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do about filming the plain cream one, but interestingly enough, you will know already what I did decide, because that would have been in last week's video. I don't like doing more of these videos at once. I just want to be back to doing one at a time. That's how my brain works. That's how we're going to do it in future. But I'll see you back once this is all churned. It's just become time to get the tea custard ice cream out of the ice cream machine. Oh, that, I think, yeah. I do find it, as I've said before, I don't think you're necessarily meant to let it get to this stage, but it does come off the paddle so much easier. I mean, that's practically falling off. And what I might do, because if you remember, this made a bit too much for these pots, but not enough for my really big pots. Then what I might do, what I did yesterday, is I put what remained into a milkshake. So I essentially had a really milky tea milkshake, which doesn't sound like it should be nice, but I really enjoyed it, and I don't really like milky tea. A lot of the teas I drink aren't really meant to be drunk with milk in the first place. And that's about right. Let me just put that back in there so that stays chilled. And where's my lid gone? Tea and custard V1. Oh. I'm not sure on that. I was saying this, I did decide to go and record the tasting of the tea in plain cream. And I was saying this whilst I was recording that. I'm not sure tea and custard is a flavour to combine. I just feel like the tea and the egg yolk are conflicting a bit there. There are some flavours that really suit being in a custard. I'm not sure tea is going to be one of them. But what I'll do is I'll churn up the other version, test them both out either tomorrow or the next night. It might end up being the next night, actually. Just thinking what I've got to do tomorrow evening. So it might end up being the next night. And whilst I didn't want to compare the custard tea to the cream tea, I might just for flavour combination, not so much for flavour itself, because remember I did use the same tea, but I made the tea water at a different time in a different ratio as well, so, and in a slightly different method. So I don't want to compare the tea flavour, but it might be worthwhile comparing the tea and custard to the tea and cream combination. But I shall see you back for the tasting of the tea in custard ice creams. And here we are on another day, actually a different day of filming this time, with both the versions of tea and custard. I think the way they appear for you is that's 1 and that's 2. I was trying to remember, I'm pretty sure 1 was the 20% of the tea water rather than the 25%, but that means that the percentages come out a bit closer to authentic. I'm pretty sure that was the way around. Oh, whereas the version 2 had more of the tea water, but in theory it won't be the same as it should be. It doesn't look about the same, right? When I filmed the tea and cream, I talked for ages before tasting it, and I said it's really soft, but it might just be anyway. This is, I mean, I know it's a different base, but water infusion recipes tend to turn out quite soft. I don't think the custard taste complements the tea. Oh, I didn't get myself a glass of water. It's a real pain to get out from behind this table. You can't, well, you sort of can see there's chairs here. There's also some chairs here. There's a chair there. I have to kind of climb into it and then edit that part out. I'll have to put up with not cleansing my palette. Also very soft. But icier, which I think that was the difference. I think including the 25% of tea water did put the water content up. I'll look at the actual, I've got all the figures in the spreadsheets for it. I'll look them up and I'll put them onto the screen, but I'm pretty sure it increased the water content, which was where my concern came. And actually it's nice to see that at least that bore true. I wouldn't say that tastes strongly of less tea. That was a weird way of phrasing it, than this one. But I think the texture is a lot better. The texture is better on that one. It's not bad. I think if you gave someone who didn't make ice cream a scoop of this ice cream, they would be perfectly happy with it. It's not bad. But I can tell there are ice crystals in there. I mean, there are ice crystals anyway. That's what ice cream is. It's just a controlled method of ice crystals. But I can tell there are in that one, whereas that one is a bit of a smoother texture. So I think the way to go is 20% of tea water. But if you want to experiment with both, I wouldn't say it's a bad ice cream. It's just not quite as good as that one. So I'm filming this, remember, nearly 2 weeks before I'm making another ice cream. In fact, is it about a week and a half by this point before I'm going to be making another ice cream? I've not decided what that ice cream is going to be yet. I've not even decided whether I'm going to make one next week and just not film it, or if I'm actually just going to have a week off. Because yes, I have sort of solved my freezer problems, but if I just make endless ice cream, it's going to go back to being a problem again. I think these two are probably destined for work because I wanted to, plus with the tea and cream. Oh, I didn't get that out either. I've not done very well today. I've not got a lot of the things out I wanted to. But I can tell you that it's much nicer to have the tea in a plain cream. There are flavours this would suit. So I reckon a lot of floral flavours will suit a custard base more than they would a plain base. I reckon mint, though, would suit plain more than it would custard. So decide based on flavour what you think would be better. I don't know where you'd fall on something like tea with lavender. Might have a play. I mean, not obviously not in this season. It's early mid-January, but once I get lavender flowers, I might have a play with that. I'm looking for. I'm actually looking. I don't often look forward to summer. I don't like summer. It's too hot for me. We're on about minus. What was it? It's about -4 at the minute, and I'm fine in -4. I wouldn't go for a miles long walk in -4, but I'll walk a little bit out around in -4 without really having any. I didn't even wear a coat today. I got distracted. Oh yeah, I'm actually looking forward to summer because I get to try out some different flavours and things that I can't easily get hold of in winter. So yeah, I've not decided whether I'm going to be making an ice cream at all next week. If I am, I'm not filming it. It's like a little play around ice cream for me. So the next one you'll see will be the one that, from my perspective, I'm making in a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I've still not decided what it will be yet. I have some ideas, but none of them are definite. Yes, that's the way I'm going to go. So that will be a mystery when it comes out.